Welcome back to my outdoor street lighting display. And today we have a very nice second generation Material Industries Ovalite street light. This was made between 1955 and about 1961, thereabouts. And the cool thing about it is everything you see here except for that photocell mount is lime material, including the arm and the ballast can and so forth. So the ballast can, photocell adapter, even though it's not lime material, and the fixture are all together. They were actually on the arm behind where the 419 is. That was what it came with. And then another Ovalite came with that lime material arm back there, but I sold that one. So, pretty cool. Anyways, let me inform you on the differences between each generation of Ovalite. The first generation actually looked a lot like the 4109, except it was designed to have a hinged glass assembly for easy replacement, and it looked a little better. It was kind of the same design, but it was slightly less alien looking. And then this is the second generation. The way to tell is between the second and third is your slip fitter here. The 2-bolt with the little strap like that is the second generation, and the third will have a 4-bolt plate, kind of like the third generation OV20s, where I believe it can accept a 2-inch arm, which I don't think these can. So these are all cast aluminum, this is one of only 2 of the time clamshells that actually be made out of cast aluminum. By this point, everyone else in America at least had moved on to stamped aluminum, except for Westinghouse and lime material. So this is a very well made fixture. Wouldn't expect anything less from lime material. Them and Westinghouse really were the best of the best, along with early Joslin and early Pemco. But yeah, these are really well made. And the cool thing is these can accept a variety of different lenses because they have the same footprint as a Unistyle, a Unidor 400, a American Electric 25000, an ITT 25, a American Electric 125 and 325, and then the GE M400R3, which there's one down there, and then also the Hubble RLG. So you could put sag lenses on this, you could put different shaped lenses, and you could put flat lens if you wanted. So it's kind of cool, and that's a couple of things I'll be experimenting with this fixture, since I am curious. But we'll go over to the ballast can here, take a look at it. It's very unique. It's actually manufactured by Sola, which is a fairly common old name in ballast, primarily with fluorescence, but also HID stuff. It is labeled lime material down here, but it does say manufactured under the patent for Sola. So this is really made by Sola. And it has the beautiful wiring diagrams for 120 and 240, your amperage, everything else. And then down there, this tells you that there is no S in lime material. Everybody always says lime materials, but actually that's incorrect. This is the real name right here. And at this point, in the 50s, they were still owned by McGraw-Edison. Later they decided to drop the name, but they've always been owned by McGraw-Edison. Another common misconception that people don't really know about, or they think that in the 70s is when lime material got bought by McGraw-Edison, but they've been owned by them forever. So, pretty neat. There was a point where lime material and McGraw-Edison were based out of Houston, but at this point it was Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which I believe is where they started. But they moved to Houston sometime in the 60s or 70s, which is pretty cool. So, we'll move over to the photocell adapter here. This is made by Joslin, actually, which is cool. The Joslin Joslock. And it does say Joslin here as well, underneath there. Obviously, since it's the daytime, I have to use a shorting cap. And I did temporarily just put all this electrical tape mixed with heat shrink just to get this stuff safe enough to operate. But once I have the time, I'm going to properly finish all this stuff out. The reason I didn't do too much of a good job, is because I was afraid to mess with the little indicator tags for what lead these are, because that helped me figure out how to wire this thing properly. I kind of already had an idea, but this just helped me. Because actually this wiring is a little bit more simple, believe it or not, on this than some of the others that I have. So I just wanted to preserve those, because that's a really neat way of doing it, as opposed to, you know, letting it just be written onto the insulation, which obviously is trashed, you know, 70 years later, or almost 70 years later. So yeah, looks pretty good on this little arm, even though that's not what it came with. We'll go ahead and open it up here. It's a nice claw latch these have. Got a nice Alzac aluminum reflector here, a nice Sylvania 400 watt mercury lamp from the 80s. Your socket and your wiring terminals there. And yeah, then the little door for the glass. It obviously comes off right there, and you can replace the lens. There's actually one of these installed near me with a American Electric 125 lens as a replacement, which is kind of cool. Usually, these these Ovalites have the actual lime material ballast cans, but I've seen them with the stupid square GE ballast cans like this one down here, and I've seen a couple with other brands, but they're usually with their own ballast can. I would say their ballast cans are probably one of the more reliable ones, aside from Westinghouse, that I've seen, because I've seen the most of those and the old circular Westinghouse cans in operation still to this day. And also, furthermore, these Ovalites are one of the more common clamshells still left on my utilities power street lighting system, which is really cool. So I see these a lot, and I'm glad to have one. I had 3 at one point, but now I have 1. I'll probably end up with more as time goes on. It does help to know linemen, I have to say. It's pretty nice. But anyways, I guess I'll go ahead and fire it up. I'll also mention this is the only ballast can I have that's actually noisy so far. I don't know about the GE one. I haven't figured out the wiring on it yet, but about all the ones I've tested, this is the noisiest. You'll hear it. And it is on. It's just the angle I have it at. Hear that? And yet it still has a 95 power factor and draws the rated amps. So caps are good. Let me scooch this down a bit. That might be helpful, so you can actually see the dang thing. There we go. That's probably good right about there. So the cool thing about that ballast can also is that it does say it's a constant wattage auto transformer ballast, otherwise known as a CWA. None of my other ballast cans actually say that, although they are, except I don't think the 53 can is. I think that actually might be an HX with a power factor correcting cap instead, because it doesn't seem to operate the same way as a CWA ballast would. But yeah, like I said, these are really neat. These are one of my favorite clamshells, along with the OV20, the Joslin MV131, and the early Joslin clamshell, which actually looks similar to the Ovalite here. But I would say that the Ovalite copied it because the Joslin came first. When I first found these early Joslin clamshells in a city nearby, I actually thought they were Ovalites at first, because from a distance they really look like them, but upon closer examination they were not. And that same town actually has a bunch of Ovalites too, so it was easier to compare once I went over to the Ovalites. I was like, oh, okay, they're different. But yeah, sorry that this video started off just mostly an overview of the light. I usually try to start it a little bit earlier, but there is a lot to say about these, I guess. And another fixture that looks a lot like these, which was a total copy of it, I guess, was the OV35 by Westinghouse, which is their second 1,000-watt clamshell they made, the first one being the OV60. I don't have an OV35, but I do have an OV60, and they do look like a big version of these, honestly. It's kind of funny. And there is a chance, but there isn't a lot of proof, but there is a chance that they actually did produce a larger Ovalite. And then they did make a cheaper clamshell called the Line 1A2, which was a stamped aluminum fixture. And that is really rare as well, because everybody liked the Ovalite so much. And by the time that they released the cheaper one, everybody was either just going to buy the Ovalite or buy a Unistyle or something else. So those aren't common either. But some people have found what might possibly be the 1,000-watt Ovalite. So that's kind of cool if that really is true, that's what it is. But there isn't a lot of literature about these. Just a couple trade ads that say it's an Ovalite. That's about it. Nobody has a catalog of these as far as I know, and so forth. So there's a lot of unknowns about these. And I believe they did offer at least what seems to be a four-way glass. If it's not a four-way glass, it's just the third generation glassware. But I've seen the 4-bolt slip fitter models with different glassware than this, and there's so many of them that it can't be a replacement. Plus I've seen them in multiple places. But yeah, I want to say locally we probably have maybe 13 or more of these on utility property still, and the rest are in parking lots. There's still a good amount of them in parking lots too. It's kind of cool. Like I said, these are more common than other clamshells, and there's a bunch of them around town, smaller towns too, still in use. These were a very popular fixture here, just like the OV25EB and the Form 400C, which is the stamped version. Well, they're both stamped, but the one that has the one-piece reflector and housing combination with the ribs on it, those were used a lot. But these were more used in the 50s, along with the OV25EB and the OV20s. Most Form 400s used here were used in the 60s, actually. And then later they moved over to using remote ballasted M400s. It took the utility in most areas a long time to actually use real integrated ballast fixtures in a large installation. Most towns, I guess, just didn't want to pay for it, so they bought the cheaper alternative, which was still using remote ballast, either the EBs or a regular OV25 just ordered empty, or M400 empty. I've also seen Unistyles empty, and 25 000s empty as well. And then they used the Form 400s until they were stopped. Production stopped. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and look at the energy usage here. Get a nice view of that. So we're currently using 4.1 amps, which isn't bad. It's a little bit of voltage drop there. Power factor of 0.94. It fluctuates between 9.4 and 9.5, sometimes 9.3. It's kind of weird. And we are using 467 watts, so we're pretty much at full brightness now, which is good. So yeah, it's pretty healthy overall, this ballast can. And that makes me wonder about my blue ballast can, if this Sylvania will warm up all the way on this. Huh, I wonder why it won't do it on the other ballast. Huh. But yeah, it's in good shape. Aside from the little buzz, it runs great. And like I said, it's one of the more unique ballast cans around. And I always know it's an Align material fixture when I see, or Align material ballast when I see it. And every single one that I've ever photographed always has an intact tag. Even though it's a little faded, it's always still intact. I do like that they have a tag on them. It's really cool. There's a couple of MV131s running off these ballast cans too, locally. And I've seen other fixtures, but primarily these are only paired with lime material stuff, actually. Like I said, I've seen a couple of Ovalites with the fiberglass cans, and I think I've seen one or two on a Westinghouse and GE metal can, but usually they're on their own ballast cans. I'd say these are paired together with the brand they were made by more often than anything else. So I think it's cool to have one of these. I want more because I really like them. They're very well made fixtures, and I love the way it looks in this little arm. It's just so good looking. So yeah, that's really all I have for today. Hope you enjoy this video. I'm glad I finally filmed one of this Ovalite. Had it for almost a year now, and I haven't made a video of it yet, but I've hung it up a couple of different times. I've hung up a lot of my lights, I just haven't filmed all of them yet. I need to get around to that, but like I said, the weather's nice, so I'll be doing more of it now. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and thank you again for watching. Definitely will be more to come. Hope you all enjoyed.